And the guest list didn't include secrets. I run weddings for a living. Not the vows, those are freelanced by love and clergy, but everything with chairs, fire code, and a clock. If you've ever seen a ballroom turn from warehouse to wonder in 9 hours, that was my team and a collective refusal to panic in public. My name is Noah. I am good at lists and even better at last-minute grace. My wife, Renee, is a florist who treats flowers like verbs. She builds sentences out of stems, arches that speak in clauses, boutonnieres that end a line with a soft period. On Thursdays, our apartment smells like green water and tape. On Sundays, it smells like sleep. The hotel I manage has a mezzanine where vendors drink cheap coffee and confess minor sins. The band calls it the chapel because it has bad lighting and everyone is honest there. I try not to police the chapel. I also try not to let it become a confessional for secrets that want to grow teeth. This started on a Saturday that looked like a brochure: sky obedient, air cooperative. The Gutierrez wedding was a 5 p.m. ceremony, 6 p.m. cocktail hour, 7 p.m. doors. Renee's team installed a half-moon of delphiniums around an aisle runner wide enough to make angels nervous. The band, Blue Atlas, loaded in with flight cases and jokes about power drops. Their leader, a man named Dorian with the exact charm people acquire from being told yes professionally, introduced himself with a handshake calibrated to sincerity. "We'll keep it tight," he said. "Bride wants old soul, groom wants new funk. We'll give them a relationship." "Give them a playlist first," I said, and he laughed correctly. At 4:12, my phone buzzed with the vendor meal count. At 4:19, with a picture from Renee of a ranunculus that had decided to be a peony for the day. At 5:46, she texted, "Chapel 10. Need to fix bouquet ribbon. 10 minutes in the chapel is a sacrament we allow when ribbon, mic packs, and nerves collide." I sent back, 10. No hymns. She sent an eye-roll emoji because marriage is an agreement to continue a certain number of bits. At 6:01, I walked past the chapel to swap a flickering sconce bulb. Renee was there at the high table with her emergency kit open, scissors and pins and a spool of silk ribbon the color of calm. Dorian stood 3 steps away, holding a mic with the casual intimacy of a man who has never confessed to a wire. "That color is a choice," he said, approving, and she smiled without decorating it. I didn't interrupt because bouquets are delicate and jealousy is a poor stagehand. I changed the bulb, tested the light, and moved a crate with my foot because I like to perform competence in passing. When I came back by 10 minutes later, the chapel was empty except for an abandoned coffee cup practicing melancholy. The night moved like it should. Ceremony applause, cocktail hour hum, doors swing wide. The room catches its breath as if it had learned a trick in private. At 8:22, Dorian switched from Marvin Gaye to something that made the groom's aunt believe in her knees. At 9:03, I reallocated 3 tables worth of wine because the cousins decided to be thirsty and the bar decided to be mortal. At 9:48, our shared card pinged with a charge from the hotel bar, Renee's tab for a vendor ginger ale. At 10:31, a second charge. 2 isn't a sin. 2 is a sentence that expects a period. She came to the back hall at 11:05 to return a crate. "Band wanted to run an extra slow song," she said, forehead dewy. It made the grandparents cry and the teenagers confused. "We should sell that as a service." 2 ginger ales, I asked, the way you ask if a dress has pockets. 2 tabs, she said. They closed one when the bartender went on break. Then Dorian offered a toast to the way your wife tames ribbon, which is an odd reason to drink soda, but here we are. She tilted her head. "It's fine." It was fine. The event ended at 12:03, which counts as on time in our universe. We sent the couple to the elevator under a confetti blizzard pre-approved by housekeeping. The ballroom went back to being a room with a lot of tables. Renee kissed my cheek and said, "I'm stealing 3 buckets and your patience." I gave her both. Sunday we were civilian. Monday the hotel staff reset for a corporate summit that wanted to pretend white chairs mean thought leadership. Tuesday I saw blue atlas on our calendar for a Friday wedding. Our vendor coordinator added a note. Band leader requests early access to chapel, sound check tweaks. I read it like a person who listens to doors. Friday, Renee installed a hoopah so lovely I considered converting. Dorian arrived with a smaller smile and more cables. At 4:40, the fire panel threw a false alarm because the fog machine thought it was a cloud. At 5:02, the groom's sister's speech acquired a paragraph no one rehearsed. At 6:28, I caught the bouquet with my non-dominant hand, which, if you've done this job long enough, is not metaphor. There was a 10-minute hole between salad and entree because the kitchen's ticket printer believed in jazz. Blue Atlas filled it with a song that made sensible people reconsider their dignity. In the chapel, I found Dorian and Renee sharing the kind of bench that makes people think they learned something together. She was replacing corsage magnets. He was not failing to be attractive. I owe your wife more ribbon compliments, he told me, as if awarding a scholarship. She charges per compliment, I said, direct to the flower fund. He grinned, then did the thing men like him forget is old. He tucked a loose strand of hair behind Renee's ear. She didn't flinch. She did raise an eyebrow with the interest rate of a bank. I don't accept hair management from musicians, she said, lightly enough to sound civilized, precisely enough to be iron. The flowers listen, you play. He dropped his hand. Message received. I changed a battery in a mic pack that had decided to be a lamp and let the chapel be a room again. I don't love the hair thing. I love my wife. I also love working in a building where cameras exist. We do not record the chapel, we record the ballroom. The ballroom showed me a 5-hour event where Dorian touched microphones, not hair. My gut, which is not a judge but has seen some trials, believed Renee first and most. We got home at 2 a.m. and fell asleep the way people do when effort finally lets go. At 9, I made eggs and a rule because rules are my second language. On a sticky note with the hotel logo, I wrote, 1. Compliments are free, hands are not. 2. The chapel is for tools, not touch. 3. If anything needs adjust, it doesn't need us. I stuck it on the bread box because carbs pay attention. Renee read it, kissed the side of my neck, and added with my pen, 4. If someone enters our story, we use their name and the present tense. She underlined name twice, not for me, for the world. Saturday's wedding brought a storm that tried to audition as the main act. Power flickered, candles, pre-approved and anxiety-shaping, made the room look like a possibility. The couple kissed under thunder and everyone felt heroic about umbrellas. Blue Atlas played like they owed Zeus a favor. The night ended with hugs that were both advice and apology. We were good for a while. Dorian acted like a man who had learned the geography. Stage, bar, van, nowhere near hair. Renee left ribbon where ribbon belonged. I retired 2 chairs that kept forgetting consent. Then August arrived with a back-to-back-to-back run of weddings that made me consider a sleep cot under the coat check. Renee's assistant snapped a wrist trying to teach a hydrangea humility. We were suddenly short 2 hands and a calm brain. That's the condition under which almosts multiply. On a Thursday, a brand new planner, bright, competent, terrified, double-booked the chapel with a photo booth vendor who insisted the mezzanine made the pictures look like old money. Renee needed 5 minutes with a broken boutonniere. The photo guy needed a power outlet like it was a pacemaker. Dorian slid in with a question about a set list change. I walked in on a geometry problem. 3 vendors, 1 table, 1 outlet, the world's most earnest chaos. I can fix the boutonniere in the hallway, Renee said, already moving. Dorian followed, still talking about keys. In the hallway, he stopped too close because his hands were busy gesturing outcomes. She stepped back exactly 1 shoe length and said, doorways are for passing, not discussions.